welcome.
Welcome. Greetings.
Thank you for joining us. And we wanted to look today at how the practice is part of our life that really supports us through everything that happens in life. And it's been this very strange and bizarre time in the world recently with the virus, with the lockdown, with the beginnings of reopenings, and with worldwide a lifting of awareness of other people, the lifting of awareness of how we have been trapped within a world and global system of really an unfair system of the haves and the have-nots, of people who in pretty much every culture around the world, people have been displaced, people have been ignored, people have been held down. And that's the way history has always been for many, many, many generations. And how that has come to a head recently, where with the Black Lives Matter movement, with the sort of tensions that has kind of brought up in all the different sides to the issues around human rights and police brutality and interconnectedness between people and our separateness and our superiority or inferiority, which all really boils down to the root of suffering, which is avidya, that we as a species tend to sort of defer to in moments of chaos, in moments of crisis, and in moments of fear. So when there is the unknown, the sort of natural response is to freeze and to panic and to separate out from others, and to see oneself, and this is perfectly natural, to see oneself as, oh my God, I've got to take care of myself. I don't want to die of the coronavirus. I don't want to have my lifestyle upset by Black Lives Matter movements that are going on around the world. I don't want to have to interface with others because I'm so comfortable where I am, or I don't want to interface with others because I'm so uncomfortable and so feel so disadvantaged. So there are all kinds of ways that when we get into chaotic, difficult, and sort of crisis-based situations, that we tend to separate out, which is the basic ignorance that we've all talked about, that we know about, that is the misunderstanding of that which is permanent with that which is not permanent, myself as a permanent being, myself as separate, which gives rise to ego function, which gives rise to grasping and pushing away, and the fear of dying. And so we all know this as yoga practitioners, as people who've studied yoga, that we have these practices that we have been working on for a little bit of time or for years and years and years, that have sort of time-tested roots of bringing us back into the embodied experience of the present moment so that we can show up for what is arising right before our eyes. And what may be arising is our fear or our uncertainty, our doubt, or our open-heartedness, our inquisitiveness. All these different things can arise. And if we are not fully embodied and grounded when these waves of awareness and patterns that can lead to evolutionary change within our existence, or possibly with even the existence of the planet. If we're not awake to that, then we miss opportunities. And so as this kind of confluence of things that has arisen during this very curious time in history, as this confluence morphs over these next few months, it is really, really important to find ways to tap into practices that speak to you in a way that allow you to feel grounded and able to wake up to what's going on in the present moment. So that by being in the present moment in a grounded way, we can become more stable and steady and notice our own tendencies to upset the things that might be unfolding in a natural way around us, or to facilitate things that might be unfolding in a natural way around us. And so just like, and we were talking earlier, just like the Black Lives Matter movement, which we're so moved by these days, has been something that has been stewing away forever, really, in human history, but in particular in the modern world for a long, long time. The idea of the inequality between people, to help to facilitate change of the nature that is needed in the world right now, is not going to be one weekend or 1 year's worth of work. It, like a yoga practice, is something that has to be practiced in a consistent way over a long period of time without grasping onto the fruits of whatever action we see ourselves doing. In other words, having an idea of where we would like to see change happen, possibly, but not holding that so steadily and with such fierceness that we can't see if maybe there are things arising that enrich our view and that enrich the outcome of how change is going to happen. So the idea of practicing for a long time, at whatever level, in whatever capacity at the present moment you are able to practice, and practicing consistently, and not practicing in a fanatical way. Those are really central to us as individuals, as well as the world at large right now, that we as people in the world who are wanting on some level to wake up to others and interconnectedness, that we're willing to do whatever we can, as we can, to make that happen. So today, in light of that, and in an effort to sort of continue to move through the wave pattern of these issues that are facing all of us, Richard and I wanted to just remind ourselves and remind you of some practices that are super simple, but also very, very important if we are to remain embodied and grounded and present. So we'll do just a few practices today without a lot of theory, and then a little bit of chanting, and then that'll be it.
So we're going to work with joining together the pattern we call prana, which makes you inhale, that lives in the heart, that rises and spreads and can be extremely inspiring and sometimes idealistic. And then its complementary opposite, its beloved, the apana, which takes you back into the present moment and exposes the vibratory nature of everything that the prana did in your mind, like time and space. The apana pops the bubble, and you flow back into grounding into that which we all hold in common. So we all and what is that ground that we all have in common? You kind of know what it is. So metaphorically we would say it's earth or it's ground, but it's this relationship, this interdependence with that which we all actually share together. And so there's something I love, which is called the Ganesh belly. And you all have a Ganesh belly, like it or not. Everyone is trying to trim down a little bit, but why fight nature so much? And if you put your hands on your tummy, if you sit straight, if you slouch, the Ganesh belly is compressed and you're unable to drop the prana down to the Nabhi chakra. So here's the basic thing we're doing. Whenever the apana, which is, think of the serpent of infinity, which becomes your coccyx, which is perhaps curls into infinity this way, and over the crown of the head, that same serpent opens multiple hoodies that tend to coil this way. And this pattern of apana is totally in love with the heart pattern, and it exists just to support the heart. And the heart pattern is time and space, activity, imagination, all manifestation just coming out. And what happens in the world of suffering, where the mind is scared or either very greedy and hopeful, and the ego is involved, either you're like that, but you lose your sense of groundedness, your connection with all other beings. Or if the apana pops all the bubbles, the heart closes. And still then you become kind of cynical and don't really care about other beings either. And so in order to find all beings in the middle path through your heart, we have to unite prana and apana. And that's where the Ganesh belly comes in. So whenever you are exhaling, that's the time of the serpent pattern, and the breath is flowing out, and the meditation in terms of your posture and then throughout the body, the alignment, is to keep your heart open, as bright as the sun. Even at the end of a deep exhale, where you're kind of doing a little extra exhale, you don't want to contract the upper abdomen as if you've been punched and close the heart, but you want to keep the upper abdomen soft. And what will happen then is you'll distinctly feel a contraction in the pelvic floor with the extra exhale at the end of the exhale. And that contracts the PC muscle. Then when we inhale, and this is the time of the radiant heart, the sun in the heart, when we inhale, we want to keep that connection to the pelvic floor or to the earth. And so under the belly, we create a mechanism or a suction in the front of the sacrum that keeps the back of the diaphragm spreading and the area of the kidneys rising and spreading. And so as you inhale, the uddiyana is actually behind the pot of the belly, and it's lifting and spreading the back of the diaphragm. But still, the upper belly is happy because we're letting the center of the diaphragm descend through the ocean of emotion, which is solar plexus, all the way down to the plane of the navel, which gradually, so you're getting a tremendous spreading in the skin of the lumbar area, spreading away from the spine. But at the same time, the fronts of the armpits roll up, the collarbones spread and roll back. And in this way, the prana descends, it stays in the heart, and it opens an embassy. So it's still in the heart, but it opens an embassy in the Nabhi chakra, the plane of the navel. And then the apana, so happy, is pulled up like the stem of a flower. So you have a flower, but it needs a stem in order to remain a healthy flower. So the apana comes up and it joins in the plane of the navel with the prana, and you get a happy Ganesh belly. So, we're going to practice doing this. So, about this far below the navel, okay, and it depends on your size. If you're 1,000 meters high, it's probably further than that, so it's proportional. But if you come along the upper edge of the pubic bone, if you go up, maybe 3 centimeters or so, and then out to the sides from the midline, we have what we call the psoas buttons. And these are simply delicate or vulnerable places. And what we practice doing is just tapping them or touching them with the fingernails in order to irritate this little band of muscle, the lowest little band of the transversus septums. And when you do that, it makes the pelvic floor, the PC muscle, tone, and it's like pulling up. And so what we're going to do is we'll inhale in 4 stages, and then at the very final stage, that's when you'll be quite happy. You smile, and that's an important part of the final stage, is as if you were. And then when you exhale, you keep the heart open by keeping the tongue merged with the palate, and that merging is felt even over the crown of the head. So it's very tall. And when you do that, if you choose any of these areas to meditate on, the palate, the tongue, crown of head, or the cave of the sacrum, or the middle of the pelvic floor, or the giant spreading, any area of the body, once you start to get the connection, includes all the other areas of the body. So I can watch my pelvic floor by watching my palate. I can feel the pelvic floor by watching above the crown of the head. Or I can watch the crown of my head by concentrating on the cave of the sacrum. Really. And this is why Ganesh is considered a jokester. Okay. So here's the practice. Find your tummy. And this is a happy floating ball. And then tapping what we call the psoas buttons, as if that were stimulating the Uddiyana Mula Bandha under the belly. We fill up. And if you need extra breath, you just tap a little more until the neck muscles say, oh yeah. And you, palate releases and you go, wow. Then a long exhale. You keep good posture from heart through the crown of the head as you exhale. At the end of the exhale, extra exhale. Then inhale in stage 1 and stop. Good. Then inhale a little bit more, fill the kidney wings. Stop. Inhale, stage 2, up the psoas. Heart is opening, kidneys opening. Stop. Oh, 1 to go. We top it off. Inhale. And then exhale. So it's Ujjayi sound. And the heart stays just like the sun. But the heart has fallen in love with the apana. Apana is very shy. He doesn't want to be. And then at the end of the exhale, extra exhale. And then, inhale 1. Stop. Inhale 2. Stop. Inhale 3. Stop. And then top it off. Inhale 4. When the wave rolls, palate empty. And then smooth exhale, heart open. The tongue has merged with the palate. And with the heart open like the sun, the extra exhale at the end. Tones the pelvic floor. Now let's do one more. So,
Can I add something? Yeah. So, one addition, if you're newer at this, is number one, it may be that you need to take slightly shorter portions, or you may finish. The first time you led this retreat, I was finished, and then you said puff, and I'd already puffed a long time ago. And then at that point, at the end, just doing a nice long inhale to reset, and then exhaling again before you do the second one, especially if you're newer. And then also for those of us, like myself, who are newer, as we inhale, to really focus on the patterns that you typically associate with the exhale. So remember, the patterns of the exhale are that the heart closes, and when you inhale, that happens naturally, so you don't have to focus on that. But as you inhale, what tends to happen is the kidneys tend to close, and you tend to sort of
float off the earth.
So one thing that can be very, very helpful as we do the inhales is in the gap when you have inhaled and you pause. At that moment, really focus the mind on the physical sensation of the lower back ribs, the kidney area. And then as you inhale the next time, trust that your heart will float, because it will, that's automatic. But with your mind, imagine the back of the body spreading at the same time. And then the reverse pattern too, right? When you're exhaling, rather than letting the heart close, as you're exhaling, let the mind rest in the visceral sensation of the heart expanding and floating. And especially for those of us who are newer, this, to know that just do it as to the point that works for your body, where you can keep that palate and tongue soft and released. And also, don't do the practice so that it makes you feel lightheaded or frantic for breath. It works just as well with shorter breaths, with, if you are coordinating these
Yeah, if you have
patterns.
prana and apana, once they discover each other, they're both very happy. And at any stage, even after one inhale, there's satisfaction because you're connected along the central channel. And so it's all a matter of taste. Have good taste. Sometimes I can break it into 10, 15, 20, 50 steps, inhale, or just 2 will do. And so these are just the tools that you then use to taste. But at any point, when the 2 patterns are both awake and appreciating each other, you have the middle path. And the middle path is hard to explain. Shall we do one more?
2 more, 3 more.
2 more, okay. So in some schools of practice, if you find a snake, particularly a dangerous snake, and if you put it around so it fastens right above the pubic bone, about that far above the pubic bone. Cobras are very good for this. It'll make you do mula bandha, just okay. And so at first you just imagine that, and then when we seek certification, we'll actually get proper cobras. And so, and this makes the belly float. And so we begin by finishing the exhale. We've got to begin somewhere. So it's best to begin where you are. So we exhale, ha. And then one long, happy inhale. Spreading the plane of the navel, front, back, side to side. When you're really full, notice the head pulls back slightly, and you release the palate, and then exhale smoothly, so heart open. At the end of the exhale, extra exhale, and then inhale 1, stop, inhale 2, stop, inhale 3, stop, inhale 4, and exhale. Just open the ears. End of exhale. And then one long, easy inhale. And one long, easy exhale. So this opens the ears. It's like Ganesh has 2 rather large elephant ears. And so you viscerally, or on the level of sensation, are feeling the interconnectedness of everything. even of thought patterns. And so you're able to observe and observe again and again sensations as they arise and as they fall, even thought patterns like, that was wonderful, or if that was no good. All of these thought patterns, you just look at them, and then in looking at them you see deeply the mystery that connects you to everything. So chant?
Mm-hmm.
There's a nice chant that has everything to do with this. It's from the Hatha Pradipika, and it is a chant to the Sushumna Nadi, which is the middle path, the central channel. And so when prana and apana are united, the central channel, the middle path opens, and when prana flows in the middle path, the mind is completely stunned or awestruck, basically with interconnectedness between all beings. So you start to feel all beings inside your heart, and you start to feel it all over your skin and everything in every dimension. So that's the Sushumna, and this is also called Kundalini, which is the feminine goddess we call Kundalini. And Kunda means an altar for sacrifice, where you give gifts to everything. And so this is the coiling that goes onto the altar, which happens to be down here, immediately under the plane of the navel. Oh, Sudhaye is nectar. So nectar is not only nectar, it gives you freedom from death, but nectar is also the finest taste or flavor. And this Chandra Janmane is born from the moon, and the moon is up at the root of the palate. It's not actually part of the palate, but it's back up there. And this is where the moon collects nectar, and the nectar is composed of compassion. And so if you get even a drop of nectar from the moon at the root of the palate, automatically Mulabandha manifests, prana drops to the navel, and the middle path opens. This gives you a state called Manon Mani, or Unmani, in which you have a mindless mind, in which all the different patternings of the mind, through mindfulness or through the ability to look more closely, are then seen, and you start to see through them. And so even if the idea comes, I'm really good at pranayama, arises, you just notice the thought, I'm really good at pranayama, and your deeper intelligence says, sure. And recognizing it's impermanent, or that it's merely a construction of interfacing. And so this is the great Mahashakti, which is the great energy. And this Mahashakti is what we're grounded in. That is that which we have in common. And you feel the commonality is Mahashakti, which is merely Chitatman. Atman meaning self, but not the self you're thinking, but the self. The one that you can't even think. The one that's actually you, which is Chit, or just mere pure awareness. So it's a very clever chant. We'll do it a few times. So we'll be sure to sit straight. Feel a happy belly. And then Om. Sushumnayai, Sushumnayai, Kundalinyai,
Kundalinyai,
Sudhayai,
Sudhayai,
Chandra Janmane,
Chandra Janmane,
Manonmanyai
Manonmanyai
Namastubhyam
Namastubhyam
Mahashaktyai
Mahashakyai
Chidatmane
Chidatmane.
Then line by line. What's that chant? Sushumnayai Kundalinyai Sudhayai Chandra Janmane
Sushumnayai Kundalinyai
Sudhayai Chandra Janmane Manonmanyai Namastubhyam Mahashaktyai Chidatmane Manonmanyai Namastubhyam Mahashaktyai Chidatmane. Sushumnayai Kundalinyai Sudhayai Chandra Janmane
Sushumnayai Kundalinyai
Sudhayai Chandra Janmane Manonmanyai Namastubhyam Mahashaktyai Chidatmane
Manonmanyai
Namastubhyam Mahashaktyai Chidatmane. Om.
And when we chant the sound Om, there is this, because it's such an easy chant, it's hard to space out on the words of Om. Sometimes you do anyway. But it's a real sort of entrance into the center of the body, into the central channel. So could we chant it one more time, and then we'll do the guided meditation to just, as we chant, and Richard will say it, and then a few times or once or whatever, and as you're repeating it, maybe even close your eyes and really envision whatever it is that strikes you as the central core of your physical being. Envision the mind and the awareness and the vibratory sound of that Om sort of all coming together in the center of your body.
Om. Sushumnayai Kundalinyai Sudhayai Chandra Janmane Sushumnayai Kundalinyai Sudhayai Chandra Janmane Manonmanyai Namastubhyam Mahashaktyai Chidatmane Manonmanyai Namastubhyam Mahashaktyai Chidatmane Sushumnayai Kundalinyai Sudhayai Chandra Janmane Sushumnayai Kundalinyai Sudhayai Chandra Janmane Manonmanyai Namastubhyam Mahashaktyai Chidatmane Manonmanyai Namastubhyam Mahashaktya Chitatmane.
And then leaving your eyes closed, let the hands fall comfortably onto the legs, wherever they happen to fall. And bring awareness to the sensation in the core of your body. From above the crown of the head, through the head, through the core of the head, and down through the throat, into the core of the heart, the abdomen, down into the very, very center of the pelvic floor. Let the awareness drop into the center of the body. And soften the jaw and soften the tongue. And notice if the sensation of sitting is one of floating above the surface upon which you sit, or if you can cultivate better the sensation of plugging in. So as you exhale, the feeling of connecting to earth. Yet the heart remains open. The core is luminous. And as you inhale, the prana pattern fills the body. The awareness rests with the connection to earth. And the central channel is bright. And then at the peak of the inhale, keeping the jaw soft still, there's the gap before you exhale. So we'll just take 5 minutes of bringing the mind back to the joining together of these patterns of prana, expansion, the heart bright, where it's easy to feel the luminosity at the crown of the head and down through the core. Joining that pattern with the sensation of being grounded, connected, awake, firm feet on the ground. The apana pattern. So remember to do so as you inhale at your own pace, remembering the breath can be long or short, it can be even or uneven. Don't try to control the breath. Let it be whatever it is. That as you inhale, the kidneys are broad. And the sitting bones, pubic bone and coccyx are heavy, like gold. And at the peak of the inhale, soften the mind. And as you exhale, remember the sense of compassion at the root of the palate as the heart expands in all directions. And when the mind wanders, simply come back to this pattern of consciously joining the inhaling pattern felt in the body with the exhaling pattern felt in the body, bottom of the body. And feel this for just 5 minutes. I'll ring the bell, and then at the end of 5 minutes, I'll ring the bell again. Soften your jaw, soften your eyes. Keep the Ganesh belly nice and soft, and the back of the body steady and strong. If the mind wanders, come back to sensation of breath. If the back of the body tightens or the core of the heart deflates, soften the mind. Let the breath take its natural pattern in your body. Trust the breath. Come back to the breath. If there's tension in the tongue or the jaw or the palate, soften into the breath. Soften the mouth, the tongue, the palate. Come back again and again. Come back to the breath. And if the thoughts go off onto storylines, invite the mind back into the sensation of breath over and over. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We just end. Thank you so much.